Hello, I'm David Smith. Back in the late 1980s, I worked with Lynne Selwood to develop a time-lapse photography system using a 16mm camera, this camera in fact, a Bolex 16mm camera set up for microscopic filming with a time-lapse controller. And the point of this was to enable Lynne to take time-lapse films of developing embryos of Antechinus and Sminthopsis species in her office, which had been converted into a kind of office uterus, as she used to call it, raised to 35 degrees centigrade in order to incubate the embryos successfully over a period of many, many weeks, months, and the whole process took years. The result was a series of beautiful time-lapse films of the developing embryos, plus a collection of more than 1,000 colour slides and black and white negatives, which became a record of Lynne's life's work. Almost 30 years later, in 2018, Lynne asked me if I could help her digitise her entire collection of movies and slides and negatives. And using my Nikon CoolScan 5000 scanner, beautiful machine which produces superb results in a fairly automated fashion, I was able to do the scanning of this large number of slides. You can see here, this is how they came to me in suitcases, probably 10 suitcases full of colour slides and negatives. The process of digitising was quite complex because it was extremely important that every individual slide and any annotations on the borders of the slide could be correlated with Lynne's notebooks and so on, so that there was no possible chance of slides being unidentifiable. For this reason, I decided to make a short film showing how I went about the process of collecting the images, scanning them, and then the folder system that I used in order to make them uniquely identifiable. And that's the point of this little film today. And now this is a pretty magic moment because I've only got 4 films to go, so out of the entire collection. So this is number F328A. So I will take all of these slides out. Being careful to keep them all horizontally orientated so they go into the scanner correctly. The scanner can't scan the whole frame if it's put in vertically. So you have to make sure they're all horizontal. And you can obviously rotate them later in your software. So here's the first page of film 328. That goes into the scanner, like so. And then I write down the film number here on my log sheet, F328A, and I mark the sheet with 2 red stripes to show that it's been scanned. Now it's over to the software and I have to go into the embryology slides collection here and create a new folder called F328A. I copy that, and then over here in the ViewScan software I just copy that into the TIFF file name because I'm simultaneously scanning TIFFs and JPEGs, and I paste it into the JPEG file name as well, and then F328A, 328A, there it is. So I go in there and I add a new folder which I call TIFFs, because that's where I'll eventually put the TIFF versions of the software. Now I have to just go in and find that folder, select it so the scanner knows where to go. So I go F328A, select the folder, and we're set to go. So now we just press scan and off it goes. for about 30 of the films, the person who'd taken the films had put 2 slides in each slot. So what I had to do was basically buy some extra pages and take out the first set and add them into this second page. So that's actually all of film 333 up to number 40. In fact, it goes up to number 41. So they got a lot of photos out of that film. Some of the detail about each slide is written in handwriting on the border of the slide. And so you want to be able to preserve that so I can maintain that information in the scanned images on my proof sheets. Now, one of the problems was that the sheets that have been chosen have got this white lettering bar, so that if you put the slide in this way, it's actually masked by the by this white line. So that's why I've put these ones in backwards. So they go in backwards, and then when they're viewed the other way around, I can make a proof sheet of that and see all of the handwritten information very clearly, so nothing's lost. It's about an extra 10 minutes per film to mess around and do this, but it had to be done to make sure that they're all identifiable. So that's the end of film 328A. I'll do the second half of that film in a minute, but what I do is go back to the details view in my Explorer window, and I click on type twice. That puts all the TIFFs at the top, and I simply select all the TIFFs and move them into the folder called TIFFs. So the first thing you see is the JPEGs, and if you want to go to the high-res TIFFs, which are around about 56 megabytes per image, whereas the JPEGs are around about 13 to 14 megabytes per image. I'm doing both, so you have the option of working with JPEGs, or if you want to go for any reason to the very high-res TIFFs, uncompressed, then you have that option for posterity. So here I'm taking each photograph that I've taken with the Pentax camera, and they're all arrayed along here, and I'm just simply adjusting them, straightening them up, and I don't need to do any colour correction because they're all pretty good. I want to be able to make sure I can see the label on each one. So this is F397, frames 18 to 36, so I'll call it that. Save it, and it's F397 18 to, what was it? 18 to 36. Yeah, 18 to 36. And that matches the name of the scan that I did of each of these pictures. So that's saved. We just go to the next one. Same procedure. Just move it across, straighten it up a little bit. Paint Shop Pro is good for this sort of thing. It's actually easier to use than Photoshop, and it's also much cheaper, so that's why I use Paint Shop Pro. We just correct that one, and it's F292, film 292, so we save that as F292, and so it goes. That's the process for lining up these proof sheets, which will exactly match the folder name that includes the full scans of each of these images. What I did to get these photographs was to hang the sheet on a stand in front of a white light disc lit by 2 spotlights, and have that just ahead of the spotlight so that it's backlit. This gives the nice glow through each of the images. But then in order to see the detail on the front here, which you can read very clearly, you can see the frame number and the film number, and sometimes there's much more information added there. To do that, I used a small LED light on the front, just coming down. You can see it on this side over here, glinting off the folds in the plastic, and that just lets me see through the slides and therefore easily read any information that's written on the slide, so that you can always go back and get that primary data. Very important if these things are going to be archived and then the slides themselves destroyed. Big responsibility. So the final phase of the project is to take my proof sheet, and I now go up and select the next page of the proof sheet. That gives me the complete number, film 340, PGC, Nicole plus albumin JPEG. And then I can go across carefully to directory Opus. I'll choose the same folder. And I use directory Opus for two reasons. One is it's got very good control over the size of the thumbnails. I can make them big enough to see the detail pretty well and make sure that all the writing underneath is intact. And here's the folder here. And I like directory Opus because it has this long orange line that takes you through the entire path of your location of the folder, so that you can find it really easily, just because it's the one that's highlighted with this orange track. So I find that really useful. Having done that, I simply take a screenshot, and that then shows the screenshot's been added to Dropbox. And these then become my reference files, so that you can find them in various ways and still go back to the information that's written on the slide mounts, which is critically important because that's information that's too good to lose. Here's a folder of negatives to be scanned. The scanner head has to be changed to allow you to fit the here are all the negs in their folder, and you can see immediately there's a few differences here. You haven't got any information on any of the individual's negative position. Clearly there's no border on which to write information, so all the relevant information is contained up here on the header of the sheet. And to do a scan, all I do is take out each strip and check the numbering system and go in from the lowest number first, emulsion down, pop it into the scanner, which then feeds it through. And now it'll simply feed through and do all of the 6 frames on that strip in one series. Very simple to do. So the next frame is advanced. This is all done completely automatically, and each frame is then saved automatically to the selected folder. When you're finished, you simply remove the strip, put it back in the folder, and go on to the next one, and so on, week after week. Now, I didn't want to lose this information up here that's on the header of each of these strips, and so there's a whole suite of these, each containing important information for each film. So what I did was lay all of the sheets out on the lounge room table and stagger them so that all the headers were visible, and then I was able to simply arrange my Pentax camera and take a still of the whole set of headers, and that then becomes a kind of proof sheet for this process. Very straightforward, just slightly different to the process required for the colour slides. Now I'm just about finished the whole project. I've only got 3 more films to go to finish up. You can see I've used 592 gigabytes, 26,000 files, and 1,153 folders. Now each folder is a film, so I've actually scanned 1,153 films, which has taken about 8 months. But it's Lynne Selwood's life's work, and so it's now safely preserved for posterity in multiple locations, backups at several locations, so it won't ever be lost.